right. So, hey, man, before we started recording this shit, we started randomly talking about movies like we always do. Brought up Roger Rabbit. My boy, Detective Eddie from Roger Rabbit. Apparently,
Bob
this
Hoskins.
There you go, Bob Hoskins.
Super
Rossi has a
Mario
whole story
himself.
about this guy, man. Rossi, take this shit away. Let us know what the fuck happened to Eddie.
So I'm fucking. Well, you didn't know, so you've never heard the story of Bob Hoskins after Roger Rabbit.
And I love Roger Rabbit.
It's not this. I can't. I have to say that part. So I'm not just telling fucking Bob's story because I don't know the rest of it. And honestly, I'm like, I know he was in other. Obviously, I know some of the movies he was in, but I'm like, yeah, like I did. You call him Super Mario because holy shit, who wants to remember that movie? You know. But so the whole story is, Roger Rabbit. Everybody loves the movie, man. I need to go watch it. I actually haven't seen it recently, so especially after maybe tonight, we'll watch along maybe next time. And so the whole story is obviously everybody knows the movie. Yeah. After filming, after everything, and I believe it was like years later because I'm pretty sure it was when Bob had kids of his own and stuff like that. The movie just, the movie business is a motherfucker apparently, and when you're paid and told to hang out with imaginary characters all fucking day for a film, you kind of lose your shit. So Bob lost his shit. Like Bob started seeing fucking characters, and I always in the stories and that he's talked in interviews and stuff. Mm-hmm. It wasn't that he saw Roger next to him. It wasn't like he actually saw, the characters, but he just said he would see maybe stuff move, or maybe, and sometimes they did say like weird characters. I think they always described it as. So
was the that could be from the movie.
Pretty much, yeah. I'm like, was it fucking, Christopher Lloyd when he's all crazy in the end? Like, I mean, that fuck with me, but so yeah. So I mean, I think the moral of the story is, I'm surprised Michael Jordan isn't batshit crazy, but maybe he is. I mean,
maybe he is, dude. That's probably
maybe he is. Maybe that's why he didn't. Maybe that's why he didn't want to do Space Jam 2. He was like, "Fuck you guys. You don't know what it did to me."
Just wait a few years. LeBron's going to be in the same crisis like
I never played basketball again.
Like, this is why I had 3 divorces in my lifetime, and I've never been able to field a successful team because I think I'm employing Bugs Bunny as the lead point guard of the Charlotte Hornets.
Every time I think I'm doing well in my life, Bugs tells me to fucking light a fire.
Like, for some fucking reason, Bill Murray comes out of a cartoon hole to save the day. Bill Murray's always there. Dude, Bill's always
around to do everything except fucking Ghostbusters. Asshole.
Like, is he in the new one, or are they keeping that shit secret?
I don't know. They're probably gonna keep it secret, but if he's not in it, then he is even bigger asshole. But
yeah, that would be a major.
I love Mr. Murray, but man, you're a dick. Like,
that's another one. I saw his reaction to the clip that they released of Paul Rudd, with the little marshmallow guys, which is the callback to the original villain from the first one.
Hell yeah,
he was very happy. He was like, that is essentially Ghostbusters more so than what they tried to do. And
piece of shit that came out. I'm not gonna say anything else. I'm gonna get yelled at, but
we all will.
I get yelled at for everything on the
4th of July
interwebs.
That's America for you right there.
That's pretty much, man.
Roger Rabbit, though, man, underrated fucking movie. I have always been a fan of it. I'm actually shocked that Disney owns it. The fact that it had like bugs and all all the animated characters you can think of.
That's how you know. And again, if you show it to like, I was about to say like this generation, God damn it, make us feel even older than we are. You show it to like, younger kids and stuff like that. It definitely, I think it holds up. But also, like in that aspect, as you bring up, the characters, you can just tell that it was a different time where no one really gave shit about who owned what. They were kind of like, we're all profiting in some way. Someone's gonna go see this movie.
Yeah, somebody's gonna pay for it.
So it's one of those things, and I think that's kind of the funny takeaway from a film like that, especially the story and everything like it. It's just funny to see where it's where they can never do that
now, where it's the fucking studio wars because they're all trying to win the streaming wars right now. It's funny because that's the first live action movie where you see Bugs Bunny and Mickey Mouse together. you couldn't do that now. Honestly, there'll just be way too much hoopla, and Warner Brothers being Warner Brothers, Disney being Disney. Disney
Yeah.
Plus, HBO, whatever the case may be. It's usually going down to just because the streaming sites and all that shit. But yeah, that movie was ahead of its time. It did something that might be kind of fucking impossible right now. Like,
yeah, it drove Bob Hoskins crazy.
Now it makes sense. The one movie that had all the characters together is the movie that drove Eddie fucking insane.
He couldn't deal with it. That's
and now I'm fully convinced now that he was actually drinking throughout that film. Like he was just like, it, man. It's a good movie. I'm shocked, man. Fun fact, they literally Disney was so invested in Roger Rabbit character, they almost made an entire whole fucking land for Roger Rabbit.
Roger Rabbit land? I mean, I'd go there.
Essentially, we're so close to doing it. I forgot what I think it went back to the rights. I think it was because of the rights of some of the things in that movie that Disney wasn't able to like completely purchase like with everything else. And it just didn't end up happening. But yeah, Roger Rabbit, man, fucking what the hell? Poor guy. I mean,
wow.
For the things to see or the things to be through, it's crazy. Other animated movies, man, real quick. I don't know if you've seen any of the new Space Jam 2 clips.
I've seen some of them. Yeah,
where they're doing like parodies of certain like Warner Brothers movies. And I've seen like so many fucking bitch about this and complain about it. It's Space Jam 2, guys.
It's a movie about a basketball player playing with space figures and playing in space. I don't know if there should be much story to it to be upset about.
Bro, then people are like, just LeBron's like ruining Space Jam. But like, what do you guys remember?
LeBron's killing space.
It's like, what do you guys remember from the original Space Jam? I saw some people like, oh, they're going way too much on commercializing the older movies. Motherfuckers, Space Jam, they made fun of Pulp Fiction at one point in that movie.
Yeah.
There's elements in there.
You know what's funny about that scene? I just saw either yesterday or maybe it was today, like a meme or a post being like, I was as a kid, it's like the person who posted saying, as a kid, I didn't fucking know, and I always thought this was a reference to Men in Black. Because you're a kid, you don't necessarily know. He's like, but it wasn't until I was older that I realized, oh shit, they're doing it to Pulp Fiction, which then brings in so many different references and little like quips and puns and stuff. So
it's in the world, like if there's really people tweeting out like think pieces and like not conspiracies, but like having this vision for
Bugs a movie is a terrorist. You're like, fuck, what?
I saw some people bitching being like the Matrix hasn't been relevant in like such and such long time, and I'm like, yeah, that's true, but they're making a new one. I'm pretty sure Warner Brothers is like, let's remind fucking people about this. Dude, Speedy Gonzalez doing Matrix shit. Say I'm there. I'd rather see that than the actual Matrix movie. Honestly, I think they had a rap scene. All that. There are just so many people just hate watching a movie about a basketball player playing with a bunch of Looney Tunes, acting like Looney Tunes. The one thing I will say about this movie though that makes me laugh till this day. So Pepe Le Pew isn't in the movie because of cancel culture and Pepe being a womanizer. But how the hell are you gonna have the Clockwork Orange in the background?
You're having like, it's okay. He's just drinking milk. I'm like, yeah, in between rape, like, I mean, I don't want to be that guy, but I'm like, it's Clockwork Orange. There's a lot of horrible scenes in it.
Oh God, yeah.
Doesn't make it a classic movie. Doesn't make it any less of one of my favorite movies. I don't like the scenes, or I'm not picking those scenes as my favorite. I'm just saying it's a movie that has a lot of different stuff. I'm not saying that a film like from Space or the first Space Jam, like Pulp Fiction, doesn't belong in a kids movie.
No,
rightfully so. But it's I don't know. What I mean? It's weird.
Different strokes for different folks, I guess, because it's just like it's one of those things where I'm like, you're gonna take a skunk out of the movie, probably the world's most famous skunk,
and then put it in it. You're like, so
that's
you're having
thing.
A clown that kills and eats children, but it's okay because he's not eating children right now. Like, he's not killing. He's not killing anybody. Like, same with Joker. He's not beating anybody with a crowbar right now.
Yeah,
he's
it's
just
Nicholson's
watching
Joker too.
Yeah, he's just watching a fucking basketball game. So that's why they got Nicholson's Joker, because they're like, he's always at the fucking Laker games.
I didn't ever put that together, but now, now I'm like, holy shit, you just blew my mind. I would never put that together, but it makes sense that it is Nicholson's Joker because he's always at the fucking games.
Like I fucking wrote the movie myself, dude. Like,
could have. Anybody, I think anybody. That's Space Jam. Anybody could have wrote the first one too. You just got a basketball player, you threw him in the movie, and you said, "Hey, go play with Bugs Bunny," and they're fiend.
I'm like, I'm sorry, guys. I don't know if they're gonna be able to have I believe I could fly in the background in this one, but you know,
like I don't know if R. Kelly's gonna piss on you in the credits, but I mean,
that's a hit we're all gonna have to take, guys. But I think
we can try, ladies and gentlemen. Usher.
Fucking just Yaz playing in the background while LeBron's just fucking dunking on fucking aliens and shit.
That's how they stay like the real Space Jam is by having a controversial R&B singer. That's just why he's doing like an alley-oop from Lola Bunny. It's like, dude, it's a fucking movie about Space Jam. I just do not understand the conspiracy or the fact that people are going to actually go hate watch a movie that essentially is not for us to be honest.
Kids. Just don't take your kids then.
Yeah, it's like if you don't want to watch it, don't watch it, man. It's like it's Space Jam. What the fuck do you think this is, dude? Was it directed by Quentin Tarantino? Another guy who's in controversy right now, which
when isn't he?
I know the foot fetish, everything else that goes on with this man. Still, in my opinion, one of the greatest directors of all time. But I don't know why his first mistake was being on.
Doesn't make him any less weird. True. But it's like we said, I'm like, we could watch all the films that this genius filmmaker makes, but he's a fucking weirdo.
Really is. Really is.
Sucks. You know how many fucking musicians I've listened to throughout the years, and I'm like, fuck, I should probably delete that. But it's art. And it sucks. You take it or leave it. You know what I mean?
It is what it is. I didn't think he said anything wrong though with the Bruce. I'm probably gonna get so much shit for this. The Bruce Lee stuff. I'm like,
oh yeah.
He never said anything other than being like he didn't like working with American stuntmen, and I can see that being who he was. Like he didn't like working with them. They weren't trained well enough. They weren't good enough.
And I've heard that, and I've heard that the whole thing that made me laugh, and no disrespect, but kind of his daughter being so upset was saying like, my dad wasn't that egotistical. Every story I've ever heard by people that were close to Bruce Lee say he fucking was, but he wasn't like it in like an asshole way necessarily, but it could come off that way, I'm sure. But he was very smug and kind of probably like smart aleck and shit like that, because he knew his capability, he knew his fucking ability and everything that he was trained to do. And then to add in, like you said, he probably didn't think American stuntmen or fighters were as well trained as he and probably other Japanese and Chinese artists are and stuff like that. So I don't hear that about anybody, whether it was Bruce Lee or another like martial artist or something like that, and necessarily be like, man, he's a fucking dick. I hear that as he wants to take this shit seriously. And if some fucking white boy shows up and doesn't take it seriously, then Bruce better knock his ass out. Like, you know what I mean?
And even with that, it's like, I think what Quentin said wasn't controversial up until when he started comparing him to Charles Manson. That's where I'm like, Quentin, now you're talking a little bit.
Did he?
He did.
I don't know if I read that part.
Well, that's the thing. People are more focused on the line where he was like, he didn't like American stuntmen. And people are like, well, he was American. It's like, both could be true. He could be American, not like American stuntmen. I'm an American. Doesn't mean that necessarily like every goddamn American in this country. I wish I was adopted by Canadians. By the way, happy belated Canada Day. But
here's to
yeah. It's like one of those things. But then he went again, like always, Quentin went so deep into his fucking pocket of being fucking weird Tarantino. He compared him to Charles Manson, but nobody seemed to blink an eye with that statement.
In what aspect though? Like how
he compared Charles Manson's hatred for the rich to how Bruce hated.
Okay.
And that's where I'm like, you should have just
lost
stopped.
Me already.
Yeah, I was like, you should just stop with that. He did not respect American stuntmen.
The only thing, and it still probably wouldn't pass, but the only thing I could have thought, if Quentin Tarantino made a comment about comparing fucking Bruce Lee to Charles Manson, the only way I think he can get away with it, if he was like, they were both such big, it's still fucked up to say, but such big icons in pop culture and in the time. That's not wrong. They were big for very different things.
Yeah, but they're still names.
But if he said something like that, I could be like, okay, I get what you're saying.
But to compare and contrast, that's very different ideologies between Charles Manson's and his family and Bruce Lee being like, I don't like you guys as stuntmen.
And also, I'm like, well, who the fuck told Quentin that?
Quentin.
Where did Quentin?
He told himself that.
Quentin told him, like, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, Quentin, I don't think you ever met Bruce Lee.
I don't
I
think
know
he did either.
I am 99% sure you could not have met Bruce Lee ever.
It's a double-edged sword because here's look. The first mistake is him going on the Joe Rogan podcast. The second mistake is trying to explain
It's
it.
talking.
Yeah. The third mistake is honestly just even giving it attention. And the other thing though, it's like, why do people care about an interpretation of a character in a fictional movie that yes has
Fictional
real live
characters.
fictional characters? It has real life naming rights to certain characters, but it's like none of this happened really because I mean, look what the ending. Like,
He
how can you watch
changed the
that
story.
ending?
Yeah.
Yeah, like how can you watch the ending of that movie and then still be like, yeah, but he ruined the legacy of Bruce? It's none of it's
Like,
real, guys.
if anything, he ruined the legacy of Charles Manson.
Yeah, essentially.
You know what I mean? He made Charles Manson like again, we're already taking heat for it, but I'm like, I want to see like the ending credits of like Charles Manson getting the news that his 3 fucking followers got brutally fucking murdered. What does Charlie do then? Like,
Charlie too.
Charlie's
That's the
back
title
for
of the
part
movie.
2.
Well, that's the funny thing because that's another thing Tarantino said that he's not thinking of his last movie yet, but he's working on a Once Upon a Time in Hollywood like play. And
So singing.
Yeah, apparently
It's
that's
like a
what
musical.
it's like, how fucking high are you on cocaine that you're just like, you know what, let's play this. Well, because originally there was going to be a mini series on
Yeah, I think I heard
HBO
that.
on
Yeah.
HBO Max or Netflix. I forget what the fuck the streaming site was going to be on, but like now it's going to be a full on Broadway play, which is I'm just like, okay, man, the movie was great. I did love the movie. I really did enjoy it. It had some awesome directing and acting by Leo and Brad and even Margot. But
Yeah.
end it there. You know what I mean? I never
Yeah,
understood
it
the
doesn't.
Bruce stuff, but I understand why people would like they got mad about the one statement about the American stuff. Man, get more triggered about the Charles Manson comparison because that's a terrible place to take it to. Just say what you said and then leave it at there. There was no the way he implied it made it seem like Bruce hated all Americans, and people took it as
Pretty
that.
much.
And I can understand that, but at the same time, we shouldn't care about an interpretation of a character that isn't real in that.
And the biggest thing, so not to cut you off, but it's like Quentin Tarantino has his own opinion on this. Yeah, he wrote the movie. He could be saying that that's what his version of Bruce thought.
True.
But again, like you said, this is an interpretation. There's no continuation. There's nothing. And that wasn't in the movie. It's not like there was a scene where someone said Bruce hates all white people. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it wasn't really implied that. It was that he was I literally, as a fan watching the film for the first time, all I took from that was that he was fucking egotistical about his skill, but not necessarily in like a fucking asshole way. He would tell people around set, like, I can do this and this and this, and this can kill a man. Like, I believe that. I could believe that if that's 100% true. I'd be like, okay.
Fuck Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in a movie. Like, what?
Exactly.
Like, so, he's a movie star as well. I can understand. This guy can fight. He can literally kill people. He becomes a movie star. Is it outside of the realm that he kind of was full of shit in a way that not in like a bad way, but he thought he was the fucking god of fighting and he didn't take anybody seriously. And again, it's not like Quentin went back, took him out of his grave and was like, here, go fight Brad Pitt and Brad Pitt's going to kick your ass and I'm going to stomp on your legacy. To me, him losing a fictional version of Bruce Lee losing to a fictional Brad Pitt character isn't the ruining of his legacy.
I think that's the even funnier part. Obviously, like, you watch the movie, yeah, he doesn't. The way I took it, he doesn't necessarily lose, especially how he gets up and he's like, whoa. He didn't kick anybody's ass. You know what I mean? Like, but the way he gets up and everything, like, it was just a fight between. It looked like it was a fair fight, obviously, and something like that. And that's what it was basically implied. So I don't necessarily take that as like, again, people watching it being like, oh my god, you made Bruce get his ass kicked. I'm like, he didn't. And that was clearly shown and implied by him even making the comment, like, "Whoa, no, nobody kicked that," you know, like, So
it's a weird hill to die on for a guy that obviously is a legend, but at the same time, I don't think every interpretation of any character should be too overthought. Rick Dalton's not a real character, and if he was, he would be my all-time favorite actor of all time, and he isn't. You know, that's not Charles Manson did do what he did with his family. That scene at the end didn't happen. The dog didn't attack the other fucking guy. And what's her name wasn't saved. Like that's real shit. That's the real true horror story of the Charles Manson family. But this is not that. Quentin Tarantino made a different fucking movie and he went a different route. And to even still be talking about it, but I do think Quinn just needs to shut the fuck up. Number one, don't do podcast ever again.
You're not invited. You're not invited on our podcast, Quinn.
And don't try to like fully explain it in a way that just doesn't make any fucking sense. It's just that's another guy that just keep it fucking just be Tarantino, be weird Tarantino.
Keep it fucking PG, bro. Like just shut the fuck up a lot more. But that's Quentin.
And here's the transition into Spider-Man No Way Home because I want to get it out of the way.
Because Quentin Tarantino is directing it.
No, I don't even know who is directing the Spider-Man movies. I really don't. I know the guy who's directing is directing the new Fantastic Four movies. Never took the time to actually do the research on it because I just haven't.
Really I thought you were saying that the director hasn't taken any time to research. I'm like, that's fine. Neither did the last director of the last Fantastic Four.
It's not that. You don't have a lot to work with, anyways. You're not going up against the classic.
Nobody is sitting here being like, dude, you better fucking bring your A game. We're like, bring your like C+ game, and we'll probably
cast Miles Teller again if all you want. They could probably still do a better fucking job.
Probably. I didn't hate him. Like,
just the movies. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, we're wearing different stuff here. The last video, technical difficulties, holiday weekend, shit happens. You know what it is. I hope all of you guys had a wonderful, safe 4th of July weekend. Unlike Jimmy Uso, man, four. Why, my dude? There's Ubers, bro.
A year?
No, in 7 years, he's had 4 DUIs. He's like on a rampage, dude.
Seven's a bit longer, but how sprawled out? He just had one, didn't he?
He just had one like a year ago. That was number 3.
So he's at least had 2 within a year and a half.
Yeah,
that's too many.
He's like, I had 4 in a decade if he's lucky enough and doesn't get another one in another 3 years. But it's like every other 2 years.
Man, I guess it really does show that you have money. At least you're not going to jail for DUIs. But if we could all be so lucky. But
it's a funny situation to see this guy. It's like you have all the money in the world. You're in probably the biggest storyline in WWE. You're with the biggest star in WWE. You can't order yourself an Uber.
You're related to the biggest fucking star right now in WWE.
And your family's so big, you're easily replaceable.
You're already related to the biggest star in the WWE and his family. And that's not talking about Roman Reigns. But so, then you go to him. Yeah, of course, right now, storyline and everything.
Yeah.
Jokes aside, obviously it sucks. It's very sad. I know a lot of people are like, man, he needs to get the help. Who knows if he's tried getting the help? It's not that easy every now and then. True. Does seem like it. Very true.
And even if he has like an issue with alcohol, my biggest thing, it's like, okay, fine. Maybe he does have a substance abuse issue and he should find help for that, obviously. But it's like, bro, in the age that we live in where like any transportation is available to everybody, especially you with money, can get Lyft, Uber, taxi. I don't care what you can do. You got the money.
Flown wherever the fuck
private jet, private helicopter. He could have done anything else than get behind the wheel and get your 4th DUI. To me, it's like I don't feel bad for the guy that much. I'm just like, be smart about it. Get drunk. I don't care, but just be smart.
Here's the thing to add to, I don't judge you, and I'm not really. I don't think my opinion's much different. Obviously, man, he blew a .2 fucking 250.
Yeah. He was on
205 or 205.
205.
It was 205 because that's where the memes are coming. Yeah. Holy shit, man. That's a bit
excessive.
You're in double digits now. You're far above the legal drinking to where like, oh shit, I still shouldn't have driven, but my bad. No, like you're fucked up,
man. And that's the other thing, man. He just came back from injury too.
Did it say how fast he was going?
No. All they said was that funny that was reported by TMZ, but he just
means too fast. That means too fucking fast if they didn't write down how long. Jesus Christ, man.
That's a Vin Diesel meme waiting to happen. But yeah, man, last time we ended off with this. We did record the last few 30 minutes that you just saw. We were talking about Spider-Man very quickly because we have other things we want to talk about. The Spider-Man No Way Home plot apparently leaked. Now, I don't want to say Yeah, I don't want to say that this is like officially confirmed shit. Like this is actually that's gonna happen. It comes from a reliable source. A lot of people are saying that it looks like it's legitimate. We've talked about it on the podcast. All sources are pointing to William Dafoe's Green Goblin being the main villain in this. It's Marvel's worst kept secret. They keep acting like there's a
Yeah, they're
shadow
really
around
bad
it.
at it.
Yeah, I just really don't
And
understand. I think.
they blame the fucking kid all the time. I'm like, he's not saying shit. He's probably
Wait,
scared
did you see
now.
where they're blaming now?
No.
They're blaming Homeboy that's playing Doc Ock again.
Why? Because he revealed that he was in it.
Yeah, I guess Kevin Feige, I can never say his fucking last name. Was like, it's unfortunate they gave out so much information, and it's
He
like,
didn't. He
stop
just
acting
said
like
he's
there's
back.
a mystery. But yeah, it's like, stop
who gives
making
a
it a
shit,
mystery.
man?
Exactly.
I mean,
it's like,
and clearly you guys weren't all that too upset. You didn't really yell at him, I'm sure. What the fuck are you gonna?
Well, it goes back to that joke we always make. It's like Sony's probably like, eh. And Disney's the one that's just like screaming, being like, you can't be giving out this information. Sony doesn't give a fuck. It's Sony.
Sony's just like, you need to suck a dick, bro. Like,
that's the Sony catchphrase. That's how Venom got made.
Sony.
All right, let me read this plot detail. This is apparently leaked.
Oh, we're going for it.
We're gunning it. Again, if this doesn't happen, it could be all false. It sounds about right though, from everything that I've heard. From outside all this other information, it sounds about right. But this is how the title and all this works together. So Peter's life is ruined after his identity was revealed in the last movie. He is now facing trial. Matt Murdock is his lawyer. Pretty cool. Matt Murdock is supposed to be in She-Hulk, so it would make sense for them to shoehorn him back into the MCU. Peter goes to Doctor Strange and asks him to cast a spell to make everyone forget that he's Spider-Man. This is the first part where I'm just like, okay. You know what I mean? Okay. I can see that being false or fake. Something goes wrong with the spell and they break reality, bringing 5 Spider-Man villains from other dimensions to the MCU. Green Goblin, Doc Ock, the Sandman, Lizard, and Electro. Norman Osborn is talking to the others, asking what is the last thing to remember, and they all say they remember Spider-Man killing them. Strange wants to take them back to their original dimensions, but the villains fear that returning would mean that they would be dead again. Norman manipulates Peter into freeing them, making him feel guilty for their deaths. And this is another part where I was kind of like, Peter then fights Doctor Strange, which is like, all right, okay. And somehow he has this like key that opens like the vault where the villains are at, which is like a weird thing to see. After this happens, the villains go and destroy New York. And to stop them, Peter somehow brings Toby and Andrew into the MCU. There's a big rematch between Toby and Doc Ock and Andrew and Electro. And the final battle is at the Statue of Liberty with the 3 Spideys fighting the Sinister Six. To be clear, I have no idea who the 6th member is yet, which I'm assuming that would be Mysterio. Because if you look at the Lego pieces, for some reason, Mysterio is like attached to that shit too.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's always been like the running rumor that Mysterio didn't actually like die. The last one is just manipulating everything. And the only thing I have a problem with that, again, the Doctor Strange Spider-Man thing fighting just kind of sounds far-fetched. Yeah, seems like a weird character choice.
Because it said, if it's true, Green Goblin manipulates him into thinking like, oh shit, feeling bad, whatever. It doesn't say he puts a spell on him. So
no,
I can believe that he convinces Spider-Man to be dumb enough to open the door, do this shit, free them, whatever. But why would he then go fight Strange? I don't see Strange being like, you did that, I'm gonna beat the shit out of you now.
No, I guess I guess what they're saying is that Strange has like a key to hold them captive. And like Norman's like, yo, we gotta like let us out. He manipulates Peter, and then Peter takes the key from Strange. They fight, and in the process of fighting, the key opens. These motherfuckers break out, go destroy New York, and then that's where they kind of get like weird about it when they start doing the whole. And then somehow Toby and Andrew show up, and you're just like,
yeah, you're kind of like, what?
Like,
okay. Well, what box does he open to get them? You know what I mean?
And that's another thing that I don't get either. It's like he wants a spell for people to forget his identity, but somehow that spell opens a whole like fucking dimension. Yeah, the multiverse, which I'm thinking it would make more sense that something happens in Loki in the next 2 episodes.
Which
to
is
trigger
possible.
More of that. Yeah, that triggers more, that leads up to that. Like I could see the Murdoch stuff. That's already been almost confirmed that Murdoch's going to be back in MCU. I could see obviously Doctor Strange is in it because he's also in the fucking Lego set. Another reason why it's so stupid for Disney to be like, oh no, nobody's in this movie. It's like the fucking pop toys are everywhere, dude. There's literally a pop of Spider-Man with like a weird like Doctor Strange, like that circle thing he does.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, like Spider-Man has it in his chest in one of the pop Funkos that they like leaked. So it's weird. It's really weird that they're trying to be like so like secretive about a movie that almost seems like it's already out, just not in 4K live action form.
It'd be funny if they still pulled the trigger on turning his friend into Hobgoblin somehow.
The pudgy Asian kid?
He's like skinny as shit now, though. You see him?
Is he? Good for him. I have not seen him since the first.
Yeah, dude.
MCU
so like
Spider-Man.
there was like rumors saying like they might actually like have him go evil, which I'm like, but why? Just make someone else Hobgoblin at that point.
Is that like their way of being like, well, they're friends, and now
that's his Franco, because they're like, shit, we sure as fuck ain't calling Franco to come back now. Like,
that's what somebody says. Like, does Franco come back in the portal too? It's like,
I'm like, no, because there's no time period that they can go and save Franco.
It's not even Seth could save him anymore. Seth, that's a long ass time ago. It's weird. I'm not gonna say that's 100% true that pitched idea, the leak. But I think there is some stuff in that leak that are like will be true. Moving on, if that's the actual fucking movie, and when we do go see, I think it comes out in December of this year. If that's the beat for beat movie, I'm not saying that's going to be terrible. I would be kind of a little bit let down because I feel like that's a lot of shit to like just shoehorn and be like, this all happened because of one incident because he wanted his identity hidden.
And it definitely goes back to, I feel like a lot of people's concern was immediately when you heard that both Toby and Andrew were coming back, and now all the villains are coming back. People's, I think, assumptions were, well, it's going to be it's got to be so long to where you're already throwing quite a bit in there. And then they basically started questioning, like, well, is it pretty much just going to be like cameos of them? Like, are they really going to have a scene? Or is it like the very, very end? And it's like, oh, this is still cool, but it's like 5 minutes worth of a movie. And you're like, I went to see it for this shit. You know what I mean? Now it kind of seems like they're still, in a way, bouncing between that of, oh, and then they just show up. And then they both fight, or they each fight one villain. And then they all come together to fight all the villains. And then what the fuck happens to him? You know what I mean?
That's the thing too, because I know somebody else was like, oh, they Toby and Andrew come into the movie at the middle of the film, and then they become the co-leads of the movie moving forward. And then apparently, I don't know, you've seen the new black and gold suit that he wears?
Yeah.
That's the suit that he wears at the ending when they're fighting like the Sinister Six, which I'm like, you couldn't just have them all in the fucking red.
Yeah, that's weird.
And blue. Why would you be like, this MCU Spider-Man's different? He's got black and gold.
Now's the time to be like, no, put the fucking tights on, dude.
Yeah, like that's the one time. Like,
put your Iron Man suit on, whatever.
And that's another thing that's going to be annoying where they're all standing together and one fucking guy didn't get the memo and he came in the black suit, and it's like, okay.
Well, I think it's also going to be funny if like either. There's a lot of questions still to where it could still be cool. It could still be like funny, whatever. I was going to say, I'm like, aren't both of the other Spider-Men going to be like, who the fuck is Tony Stark? And where the fuck is my suit? Fuck him. I'm glad he's dead. And you're like, oh shit.
Well, I'm pretty sure because most of them are like, wait, you care because of Tony, not Uncle Ben? That's your story arc?
Like, our uncle's dead. And he's like, I never knew mine. And they're like, fuck you. That's better.
But your aunt is like super hot, so it's like, is it cool? Is it incest if we just like hook up with her?
They're like, she's not our aunt, right?
The dimensional aunt. It's like
Happy's in the corner, like crying and shit. while Toby and Andrew just go to tent now.
Jesus, what are they calling them in Loki? Variants.
The variants, yeah.
The two Spider-Man variants are just going to town on Aunt May.
That's a hell of a variant. That's a hell of a Spider-Man film. I don't know if Disney will pull the trigger on that, but
they probably never will. But yeah, that's the one little small tidbit of Spider-Man stuff that's going around now. All I would say, the rumor, again, another rumor like always, is that the trailer is going to drop in August with Suicide Squad, and my whole point is just drop it, dude. I don't see the reasoning why you would do that for Suicide Squad and not do that for Black Widow.
Because hey, don't watch Suicide Squad. I mean, that's kind of their last effort to say that, like, hey, before you watch this fucking movie, we got better shit. And you're like, what the fuck, man? Like,
well, is that like a homage to like James Gunn? But like, here's a little nudge.
Yeah, true. I'm sure they could say that. Like, oh, we're doing this to help him. I'm like, what? What? Shut the fuck up. Why can't you just let him have this moment? Like,
It's like, why are you
like,
helping
no.
him?
Like, you still owe us, motherfucker.
Like,
I
we
don't
took
know.
you back.
Yeah,
Took
pretty
you
much.
back.
We could have ditched you to the curb, bitch. And you're like, oh shit, man. Yeah,
And they did.
It's weird. Yeah, it's weird that it's coming out, with Suicide Squad. Yeah. It's weird that it hasn't come out already. But yeah, I don't know. Because then it kind of goes back to like all the other movies now, Venom, and then Morbius, and then Craven, and then
all useless.
Whatever the fuck else. But then
Spider-Woman.
in the Craven one, they said that they might have Chameleon as the main villain. I'm like, well, what the fuck? I like both of them. I just don't want to see a movie about both of them.
Yeah, I'm like, are we doing Craven anti-hero shit now? Like, that's the goal there.
Like, is Kick-Ass just going for the fucking award of how many superheroes he can play? Like,
it's like I missed out on Batman. Now I got to be fucking Craven.
Yeah, he's like, fuck, man, I should have just answered the call.
This should have just been Batman. Like, they didn't even call me back to play Quicksilver, man. They just replaced me with the X-Men one.
Yeah, I instead have been waiting for that Gambit phone call, but they don't want you. I could see him being Gambit more than Channing.
I could see the one from Wolverine Origins get a bit more so than Tate.
If they just dubbed his voiceover, that guy couldn't do a fucking accent to save his goddamn life.
That movie in totality is just a piece of shit.
Well, that movie is a piece of shit, but
it's almost amazing that they actually saved the Wolverine like movies, because that fucking first installment was probably one of the worst attempts at a Wolverine movie.
People shit on that one too. The Wolverine, I'm like, that one wasn't nearly as bad as Origins.
I'll take that opening scene with the nuclear bomb over any fucking scene in the Wolverine movie. Cool. It was trash. Like the movie was awful. I can't see why some people are upset with the Wolverine, because I think they hyped it up to be something, and then it kind of went into like the whole old Asian man trying to get like his powers and shit. And it's just like,
they hyped it up to being Silver Samurai.
Yeah.
And then it really wasn't. It was just a robot samurai suit with, an old man being like, and now I take your healing factor. And I'm like, that's not really how that works, I don't think.
But they somehow shorted it. Like, didn't he like drill him in the hand? Like, he drilled him in the fist, and they just start like taking his powers. I'm like, wow, I did not know. We're just going to shoehorn a whole new fucking element.
It was just like vacuuming his fucking adamantium out of him. And I'm just like Magneto could do that. But it would be fucking graphic. He wouldn't be just sitting there like do 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 do. He would rip his fucking bones apart.
He wouldn't have straws sucking out fucking Wolverine.
And Wolverine would probably collapse into just a fucking ball of skin.
It's funny we bring that up. Did you see what fucking Hugh Jackman put on his Instagram?
I did.
Interesting.
It is interesting, but I'm like, don't give me hope, Hugh.
It's do this to me. Like him posting the claws, I'm like, whatever. I mean, it looked like fan art anyways. But then him posting like the picture with Feige, it's like, oh, I'm like, okay. I'm like, interesting.
Don't do this to us, Hugh.
A little bit of a tickle. A little bit of a
he did. He tickled. It was one claw tickled at the end. I don't
just the one long claw drag. It was across, just a little.
It was a little tease. It was the middle claw.
It was the middle claw. And it wasn't even like fully out. It was just like halfway there.
Yeah, it was bad. I knew what he was doing, but I'm just kind of like, oh man, come on.
I don't know. I think they'll probably have to do that, because I just don't see anybody else being casted as him. It's not a Spider-Man or Batman situation. It's totally fucking different.
I don't either. And that's the funny thing. We're at the point now where if they just turned him into like that version of he's the Batman, he's another like Nick Fury type where like he doesn't always fight, but he's gonna lead. If they do it right, I'd probably be okay with it, because then at least we're getting Wolverine and you know who's playing him, and maybe even doesn't feel like at that point it wouldn't feel like he's being forced at us, because he would fight occasionally and other times he would just drink and smoke. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, there's a way to do it that would make a lot of sense. It's just like, it just comes down to him. From everything I've heard, it's like, it's up to him if he actually wants to fucking play the role or not, which...
Because watch them like somehow just eventually do that, where like Wolverine is old. They never get to the fucking Jean and him story where it's like, whatever. And they do bring in like a new cast that are still like all younger and shit like that. And he's just like, he's him and Xavier like teaching them.
Yeah, it would make
I
sense.
could see it. Yeah.
It's an open canvas, anyways. Like they have every fucking option they could go to. I mean, what was the other rumor? Tom Hardy, Harry Potter boy, the dude from Kingsman. Those like the three options that they kind of give out, and I'm just like, those are none of them would work.
Yeah, I'm just like,
at all
we don't
whatsoever.
At that point, just don't bring the character back.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, there's no like again, it's not Batman. It's not Spider-Man. That guy owned that role, and he owned it for like since 2000.
Exactly.
Up to like a few years ago. That's almost 10 plus years of service to one character.
Yeah. So it's
he
like,
didn't got like what, 2 movies, now 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, so I'm like, why do it? Just no, you're fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Well, but this is the part where we go into the horror elements, because I know you had a great yesterday, obviously 4th of July weekend. Rossi hit me up with a great horror concept question idea to bring up in the podcast. And I was like, hell yeah, I'm down with it. Anytime we talk about horror.
It was a light bulb moment. But it like I was lighting stuff in front of me, not fireworks. And it lit the light bulb, I feel like. And yeah, man, we haven't talked about horror for a bit. We dabbled when like Halloween Kills trailer came out.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. But yeah, so light bulb moment was kind of like a mix of things, but the start of it was talking about like classic horror movies that I feel still hold up to this day, that a new fan can watch for the first time, still get the story, get the premise, get everything, get scared, and walk away knowing or feeling like it was a good film. And that kind of brought up a further question of saying like, well, which ones of these like movies throughout time scared you the most, or just scared you in general the first time viewing them? And both are kind of interesting, because I'm like, I found out some different answers and shit like that. And also it gave me the time to rewatch some classics, to where like I said, I'm like, these fucking hold up, man, way better than probably I'm on record right now. Classic movies dating from like 70, I'm gonna say 73 to 87 would beat any movie made over the last 10 years.
Yeah.
In the horror genre.
Though they're original, that's why.
Well, they're original for fucking goddamn sure. And a lot of them just didn't have to rely on only special effects or had better story, just shit like that. But so I mean, like that was the big one. I mean, the first movie that came to mind, and I got to watch it yesterday for the first time in quite some time, The Exorcist. And now I know the last time we talked about spooky things, our podcast got hijacked for a bit. So we'll see what happens.
I think we mentioned Exorcist too.
we probably did. We make no guarantees that this won't, disappear again. But that's still, the classic of all classics, probably. I mean, that in your Mount Rushmore of horror classics, that's one of them.
Easily.
You know what I mean? Like, exactly. And I'm like, the other 3 can always be up to debate, whatever. Exorcist is on it. Whether you're necessarily a fan or not, of the film itself, that's a fucking film. And it's funny because we've talked about it. I got some other answers. I've heard a lot of people throughout the years say The Exorcist terrified them. First viewing, whenever it was, whether you were a child, whether you're a little bit older, it just terrified. It actually didn't terrify me that much. Other movies did.
Yeah, but that movie till this day is like probably the scariest. It's probably the scariest like viewing I've ever had for any movie, any other horror movie I've ever seen. And like I still this day, I'll see it like on the TV when you're like going through the guide and shit. I can't bring myself to actually like put it on. I'll put it on.
Really?
Yeah, I'll put it on sometimes, but like I can feel the uncomfortableness just like go through me. Yeah, it's one of those things. I love that feeling though. It's a thing like I'm cool with, but it's like, fuck, man. There's something about that movie, since maybe because also my family loathed that movie with a passion.
Oh yeah.
We weren't even allowed to have that movie. They had the VHS form, and like I remember they found it one day. And they just fucking tossed that shit. They're like, they can't be here in this house. I don't want any.
They tried burning it. They tried burning it, but it wouldn't fucking light.
Wouldn't go on fire. It would just stain. It's like fucking. It's just started like in its solid form. Didn't even melt at all. the title's still there. It's not even scratched off or anything. No, but yeah, it's a movie that even my family was like very spooked out about. And I remember they would tell me like they would have nightmares every time they would watch it. And so that's why like I living in that type of environment with people that have those type of thoughts, it just added more fuel to that movie. And like I've said, I think I've said this on this podcast a long way back, but the first time I watched it with my dad. I'm about 6-7 years old. It was around Halloween time. It's around the time when like AMC has like their Halloween movie marathon, Fright Fest or whatever the hell it's called. They would put The Exorcist like fucking daily almost. And I wanted to watch it. Obviously, everybody was like so fucking furious at my dad, which he's just like, I can watch it. It's not that big a deal. But this motherfucker has a tendency of knocking the fuck out like 10 minutes into a movie.
Okay.
So I'm curious, and I watched the whole thing, and it was very traumatizing because for some reason, AMC usually kind of blocks out the bad stuff.
Oh, they showed all of it.
They went for it. Yeah, they were like TVMA, blah, 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 blah. And they just went for like the whole damn thing, man. You get to that scene with the cross. It's a game changer.
I forgot how much she actually does say.
Dude.
And when you're watching that now going back as a child, yeah, you're like, the fuck? But and no, yeah, it's so that's another thing about it. You don't see movies saying things for obvious reasons, but it's just very different, you know?
Yeah.
And the feeling doesn't change, like you were saying. You still feel probably absolutely the same way that you did as a kid, you know?
100%.
And
that movie
that's
the thing too. Like a lot of movies try to do that, but they do it in such a cheap way that it's like it doesn't really add value to the story. That's just such a compelling, great story, beautifully directed. One of the greatest horror themes of all time, with the cast that's acting their ass off and directed in such a way that you're just like, holy shit, no wonder this shit won a fucking Oscar. But it's like some people
talk about another Bob Hoskins story. Linda Blair, man, like
that next level shit.
She didn't just deal with like, you know, kind of still being fucked up after this. Her body was fucked up from physical pain of like filming stuff. And after the film was done, she was getting the most like hate mail because they were saying
her career was essentially over, wasn't it?
I mean, in a roundabout way. I don't know if I ever read it, but I feel like she probably just felt like she didn't want to fucking do it. Like, she, probably not acting wise. I know she's
props
big.
for her for even doing the second one.
Oh yeah, I know, right?
No.
And it like really wasn't much of like a continuation.
No,
but exactly, and it's one of those things that she's a huge activist in like saving different dogs and stuff like that, organizations. So it's fucking awesome. Mm-hmm. And she also does a bunch of like the conventions nowadays. And I feel like she's a type of like actress that probably gets more out of that than actually being in movies. You know, like it's not like she ever has to fucking do another movie. It's never gonna be as big as that. Nothing against her, but it's obvious reasons, you know. So, but yeah, so it's like that's the other thing. I'm like, back in those days, and I guess still to this day they can, but you don't hear about it because everybody fucking tiptoes. You don't hear about actors getting as much like hate mail after like a movie. You know what I mean? Because either they know that it's a fucking job, or they're just stupid. I don't either or. I think that's the crazy part, that I'm like, man, people used to deal with that shit, and then you hear about like the curses and what they believe from like, you know, original Poltergeist and different shit like that.
Movie curses, that's something we're gonna have to like dabble into eventually, because the amount of movies that are actually cursed, from Wizard of Oz to The Crow,
that's a good
plethora.
One. Yeah,
the list of movies that have actually cursed a lot of people. Poltergeist is the big one too, where you look into like the people that actually got hurt after, during, and before.
I think there was at least three deaths.
Yeah,
including the little girl. So whoa.
The teen daughter was probably like the worst.
I've been to her funeral, or not funeral. Sorry, I've been to her.
You went back. You're like,
I went back in time. I just low-keyed this shit.
Just showed up. Like, I'm just here for the passing.
I just want to pay my respects, and they're just freaking out.
But The Exorcist,
No,
man, it's a movie that just it goes above and beyond. But it goes in
it
such a way,
does.
and that's another thing. I remember I did like research on it because it's like an interesting whole fucking franchise. But it's like
Yeah.
the reactions to that movie were real, and it was a natural
Oh
reaction.
yeah.
Nowadays, fucking studios they promote this shit for like PR stunts. When like the first
Yeah.
Conjuring came out, they're like this movie causes like nausea and blah blah blah.
Oh,
Like
that's all
motherfuckers were
such
like
horseshit.
dying in the theaters over The Exorcist, like they were passing out and shit. And that was believable because it's like well, they didn't have social media to, like hype the movie up. It was just like come watch this
No.
Exorcist movie. They went and watched it. And most of them hated it because of all the shit it showed, but a lot of people could not like stand to literally sit in the theater and watch the entirety of the movie. And at that time,
Yep.
holy fuck, ballsy to even release a movie like that of a child to
Oh
go through
yeah.
that too. It's like holy shit.
Yeah. Like that's the other thing too, man. Like, and again, it sticks with it. But carrying on from that, I'm like, what's a movie other than The Exorcist, you know, that just terrified you or got to you or stays with you to this day? What's like another one? Another big one.
You know, it's a movie that I could watch it and not be scared of it, but it's a movie that still kind of gives me like freaks me out. I hate clowns. I've always hated clowns, except Joker. I don't know why. That's always been like my gray area. Joker's always been like the
Joker
one
and
that
like
like
Krusty for some reason.
yeah,
as
Krusty
kids,
too. They
he
just
never
like they
scared
pass
us.
by. Yeah,
Isn't that fucked up?
it is, but in
Like
this way, it's like
those two.
you kind of knew they were kind of harmless. You know what I mean? Because they're like, yeah, you know.
Other than the Joker, like actually trying to kill people.
Yeah, but it's like he's obsessed with Batman. So
It's
it's like,
really harmless, man. He's a
yeah.
drawing. Like,
Well, yeah, if a fucking guy dressed as Batman flies, then I'll be petrified of fucking killer clown. But it's like until then, it's like, I don't know why, dude. Pennywise, Stephen King's It. That
oh
dude till this
man,
day, man. That's another story where, look, I'm not trying to say my parents were bad, but that's another movie where they left me by myself to watch it because they thought originally my mom was just washing dishes.
Our parents aren't gonna listen to this.
They're really not. They're really not until they do, and they're like, "Would you say on the
They
podcast?"
don't.
It's like,
they
no,
don't.
They don't listen, dude. They don't support my career outside of being here. No, but that was another one where she just left me in front of the TV, went to go wash dishes, and in her head, because she had never seen it before at that time, which is crazy. She thought it was a children's movie about clowns.
Shit.
Yeah, because the opening is with the little girl.
It is
remember on
the
bike.
opposite.
Exactly, it is the opposite. And that movie fucked me up for a long time, even more so than the new one. The new one that didn't have any effect on me. The old one, as corny as the old one is, and it's not a good movie. The old one is really not good.
That's funny, yeah, that you say that.
I'm like, scary though.
And that's the weird thing because it definitely had more comical stuff.
Yeah, very cheesy
than the remake. But when it wanted to be scary or creepy or this or that, it delivered.
Mm-hmm.
Because that is absolutely a movie, and I'll agree with you on that. As a kid, I don't know how old give or take, maybe at least like 7 or 8. I think I finally saw it, and it was same thing. It was, on TV, but it wasn't censored or anything.
Shit.
And I knew what it was somehow. Well, not even somehow. We grew up in the golden age of video rentals and video stores. My brother has always been a huge horror fan, horror buff. When we used to go to the video store, I don't know how old, again, math, fuck that. My brother would have been maybe he would have been at least in his teens. He started looking up different horror movies, just being obsessed with finding the next one or these classic ones, all this. So as a kid, I grew up around that. So that's how I got to watch a bunch of stuff. My parents fucking absolutely hated it, but that's how I got turned to different films. Maybe that's how I think I probably remember seeing the cover of it, the original.
It's a great cover.
And just never seeing it. But it's one of those things as a kid. Now, we're so old to where I don't remember, to where if I had heard it from my mom. Little backstory: my mom is absolutely fucking terrified of clowns, hates them with a passion to this day. Actually grew up in a part of town where they had like a guy who dressed up like a clown was actually like kidnapping kids.
Nope. Yeah.
Yep. Exactly. So I heard that as a child and was just like, wait, that's not the fucking movie. Like, are you telling me the plot? And she's like, no, this is life, motherfucker. And I'm just like, oh shit, mom. Like, so I think
traumatizing.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think seeing it for the first time, I remember certain scenes. I remember the bathtub scene. I remember what's another big one.
I remember the library scene a lot.
I do remember that. Yeah.
The Chinese restaurant.
See, that's just funny. I didn't remember that scene as much until the remake. Then it was like deja vu.
Yeah.
Because they pretty much
it was almost like beat for beat of
yeah. So, but I, like you said though, I remember certain scenes, and I remember how I felt as a kid watching it. I felt like he was real, and that was more real than the stories that my mom had already told me.
Yeah.
To where I was like, no, this motherfucker is gonna actually kill me. I remember the second scene that stuck with me to this day, when they open the book.
Oh,
he starts moving around.
Yeah, and he gets on the light pole.
And he fucking just darts towards them. I remember that fucked with me so much in school. I would be looking at like books and just have that like go through my head.
Of that, dude, it was.
And I was just like, like I would close the fucking book real quick, thinking like, nah, you're not gonna get me today, fucker. Like,
that's how you defeat Pennywise.
That's how you defeat him. Just close the goddamn book, kids. Come on, you know better.
Until he turns into that weird octopus-looking mutant spider at the end.
Pretty much. What if that was the moral of the story? They're like, just
stop reading.
Stop reading.
Literature. Fuck this.
Stop.
That was like Stephen King's way of just being like, help me. I don't want to write books anymore.
Yeah.
Like, please stop the torture.
He was just like, I living in my own fucking actual like misery, and I need someone to fucking kill me. Like,
I remember like, this is probably the one that fucked me up the most. And this is why a lot of the times I have a big fear of doing this. And this is probably TMI, but fuck it. When the shower scene, when he comes up from the fucking underneath where like the sewage goes, and he comes out and he's just standing there like this. And it's like, nah, bro. So for the longest time, it was hard for me to take a shower and close my eyes. Because I'm like, fuck that. Like, I couldn't. I always like had this sense like, as soon as I open it, boom.
You thought Tim Curry was going to be behind you. Like,
some way, somehow. And he might have enjoyed it, but I thought he was going to come out of there.
That's a frightening scene of itself. So,
yeah. Well, yeah, it depends on what you're getting.
That's very true. No, that's one, man. We had, for the first time, and this is one of the fun times, and we'll definitely come back to this, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe even coming weeks. And I always like seeing memes like recently of saying like, 4th of July is done. You know what that means? Get ready for Halloween. Yeah, and I'm like, fuck yeah, dude. You know that's my favorite time of the year. So we'll definitely dabble back into this. But we opened the questions up to people and asked them
we got some good responses.
This simply question of saying, which ones stayed with you? Some of them weren't too surprising. Some of them I'm like, okay. Some of them were kind of newer to where I was like, fuck. And we'll even dabble on one because I actually finally did watch it not too long ago. And I have an opinion, and I guess it kind of changed. But some of the classic responses were the original Friday the 13th. How did you feel? A quick just summary of the first Friday the 13th.
I thought it was a great way to introduce Jason because I felt the mother aspect of like, because there's a point where you're like, I kind of get her point of view. I understand why she's angry. I understand why she's mad. And that's what makes it scarier to me because I'm just like.
Which is a weird plot of itself where when you can identify with the killer, that probably means you kind of fucked up too.
It's one of those things. It's like Taxi Driver and fucking Joker and all those movies where just like when you're there and you're like, you know what? I feel bad for this dude. You know, he got to do what he got to do. Fucking situation of life put them in this position. So I think that's what made the first Friday the 13th so scary. Number one, because they do a very good job like hiding the fact of who it is throughout the movie.
Talk about, you know, technically that it wasn't, but that was one of the first like obviously like point of view, almost like found footage,
the POV kills.
And talk about one that absolutely still holds up. And maybe that's always from the difference point. Again, like you said, I didn't know, especially by the time we got to watch all of them and the first one, we already kind of knew who Jason was, even by just look, you know? So we knew it was leading to that. I totally agree that it definitely paved the way to be like, okay, now this story is starting. This is a great, like, almost like prologue to it. But just the sense of, I feel like the way they did the no seeing the killer got me more into the story than the original Halloween when they didn't show the killer. You know what I mean? It's where I'm like, I'm not knocking Halloween, but I've always been a much bigger Friday Jason fan as to Michael Myers Halloween. Nothing against the character or the films. But so I think that's just a big thing that really hooked me in. And then, you know, you keep going to all the other Friday 13th. Some of them start adding, you know, because they're all in the 80s, they start adding like campier,
really cheesy.
Yeah.
They have that boxing one where it's just like, and it just gets really cheesier as the time goes on. Yeah, the Manhattan one, that took that Jason to like a whole different element where I'm just like, I kind of missed the mom.
There's still some really good kills in that one. I feel like
the boxing one is phenomenal. I could watch that shit anytime.
Yeah. The stories definitely started losing their way, and then they got like different directors sometimes and stuff like that. But I feel like they still held up with the kills every time.
Yeah,
it's almost why people go see the Saw movies nowadays.
I was gonna make that comparison right now. And I'm not trying to say these movies are alike in any way, but at that time, what the '80s did is what they do now with like the Purge movies. Those movies are fucking awful. But people still go to see the kills, and just they don't go for the actual movie in itself, or they're not going. I'm not going to go watch the Purge movie for the script.
Movies for kills, because I don't think I've ever really fucking seen any good ones.
The first one actually came the best ones, and then they got really like it just got really corny as the movies went on.
It came up on a memory the other night. I went and saw the first Purge before I was actually seeing my girlfriend at the time. And it's funny because I remember sitting in that theater watching it, hoping that it would be like good. And I remember like a couple scenes maybe be like, oh, you know, cool. And maybe in my head I sold it more. But I remember just being like, this is fucking dog shit. and now it's like the forever Purge, and it's just like a bunch of like Texans, to where I'm like, what? Now it's just reality? Like,
I don't know why everybody's okay with it. It's like a bunch of Texans, and like the people that they're hunting are running to Mexico, and I'm just like, why is this okay?
Oh, good.
Yeah, that's like, awesome. Why are people like totally fucking okay with this all of a sudden? Like, but that was an example. Because it's real. This is actually what's happened. This would have happened in Trump one. Anyways, I'm gonna get in trouble for that one, but that's kind of like how I would compare it from like what Jason went to. Even Freddy, like the first Nightmare. Holy shit, that is like a horror. Like gold, and it goes so fucking scary. Like we brought it up, we talked about it. The scene in the classroom hallway where her dead body is wrapped up in that plastic bag,
and it starts getting dragged away.
Yeah, and you don't see what's dragging it, but you just see the blood smearing on the floor. You have the scene where he's running in that alley and his arms are extending, and it's love it. As cheap as it looked great though, because it sold it. It sold it.
Him still cutting off his fingers.
For no fucking reason.
The green, like acid, like blood coming out.
Just laughing. It's just like, that was Freddy. Me. That was the best version of Freddy. And again, that was another franchise that went the campier way. But that, I think, again, like that's the time of the 80s, just like the times of now, where everything is so franchised. And instead of just ending it with one movie, they're thinking of 2, 3, 4, 5. How can we go up the ante? It's the reason why I hate these fucking piece of shit Fast and the Furious movies, because that's almost becoming the fucking style of choice for all these franchise movies, that they're like, oh, they're going to space, we gotta do something ridiculous now. Oh, they're doing this, we gotta do something extra. And it makes the movie worse, because you're not focusing on the story, you're just focusing on a scene to sell the movie. You know, okay, cool. Yeah. The rest of the movie's dog shit. It's just not good.
No, exactly. Fuck, I hate the Fast and Furious movies.
They're fucking.
I've never watched one. Never watched one.
I watched the first one. I liked it because they were stealing DVD players, and I'm like, cool. And then they got stupid after that. That was the only one. That was the only one.
I can identify with this at least. Like, I can understand that.
Yeah, like they're racing cars and they're trying to steal DVDs. I'm like, fine, man. That was the time, 2000s, and now it's like we're going to space, man. Did you see? No, you obviously not, but like the ending.
I saw the scene. Was that the ending?
Where what's his name's car pulls up and they're just like all smiling, and they don't show him. It just cuts to credits, and people are like, "What the fuck?"
Oh wait, no, fuck. Hold on. The newest one.
The newest one just came out. The ending scene is they're all having a barbecue at the same fucking house as all the other ones, and Homeboy's car pulls up, and they all look and they all smile. Cutscene credits. I'm just
So they're
like,
just gonna get like a weird dude with like curly blonde hair.
this is what they're doing. They're using his brother, his actual real life brother.
Are they fucking twins?
Now they look alike, but they're gonna like CGI his face a bit.
That's fucking weird.
It's fucked up. Let the guy die, man. Like he's already been past like how many years, and you're still trying to
Talk
bring him back?
about like the brother now being like fucking ka-ching. I'm time to cash in on my career.
I will carry your fucking legacy.
While
Still,
I will carry your face through this fucking franchise, brother.
This is the new face
like,
off.
yeah, I mean, essentially it is. That's what's his brother's name? Fucking like Walker or some shit. Is it
Walker
John
Paul.
Walker?
John Walker. I don't know.
Oh, that'd be fucking awesome. Talk about an acting name.
That should be a stage name. Like
that's fucking. He's like Texas Ranger. That's his first name.
It's Cody Walker.
Cody, big old Cody. That's fucked up, dude.
Cody's the man of the family now.
I don't know. Like, is it any more fucked up than them still, using Leia in Star Wars or some other characters in Star Wars? Is it?
Well, Leia. See, here's my thing. If they're dead, obviously, like I'm like let them rest. Like they've had their moments to shine and they passed. Unfortunately, like Leia.
Yeah.
It was like I understood Leia only because it connected to the last episode 4. It was like the ending prologue.
It's not like they're still doing it.
Yeah, for them to
if they
the
continued,
story,
I'd be like,
that's my problem. For them to be like, this is your little tease at the end that he's back. It's like, why would you tease that for the next?
You should just had him like text you, being like, "Miss you guys."
Yeah, or a flashback scene. I'm totally cool with the flash, but to end the movie with being like, "There's his car to be continued," and it's like, what is it to be continued? He's dead.
He just texts them. He's like, "Heaven looks great," and it has like wings emoji and a heart. And they're like, "What does this mean?" They're like, "All right, guys, the family's going to heaven." And then there's
a chair here that says reserved for Bill Cosby. I don't know why, but they're saying to keep the seat warm.
Family doesn't turn on each other. I'm like,
I will say though, man,
they don't.
I will say though, those memes are pretty good. The Fast and Furious memes are they're pretty funny, man. As annoying as it is.
I got the ending right now though, or I got the next movie right now. It can't be a full movie. It's the epilogue. I thought about it in my head. I'm like, it can't be a full movie, but it could be like a fucking digital short. They're all like, all right, we're gonna go visit our brother. Fucking, what was his name in those piece of shit movies? Wasn't it like something else generic, like Paul? It was like Brian or some shit.
Like in the Fast and the Furious movies, or his like actual brother?
Yeah, no. What was his name in the franchise?
Oh, fuck, I don't know. It's just Paul
Walker. Oh, okay. I didn't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know Vin Diesel's name in those fucking movies. I think it's like Don or Dommy or Dom or something.
It's like Dominic, isn't it?
I think
I only know that from seeing certain memes.
I only know the actors in the movies. Like I would never call Ludacris by his Fast and the Furious name. It's like, oh, there's Ludacris.
No,
Tyrese.
I mean, I don't know their name. Yeah.
Yeah.
Either fucking way, it's one of those things. No. So my pitch is, he's dead. So they're like, all right, we gotta go visit him. The only way to visit him is get into heaven. And it just turns out they're just like Jim Jones as shit. And it's all drinking. And that's the ending. And they're just like all fucking, they're trying. And then I guess
go for it.
And then they got to battle fucking Satan. That's the whole twist of it.
That's the epilogue of
Fast and the Furious goes.
Dude,
to
they're
hell.
They're trying so hard to make the next one, not the next one, but the final one have like some sort of Jurassic World connection. And Vin Diesel keeps like pushing it, and I'm like,
he's like, I think we could fight a T-Rex. And I'm like, I want to see you get murdered by a T-Rex, but
that's how this should end. This should just be like them driving, and just the T-Rex comes down, and the end. We never hear from them.
And then just Jeff Goldblum walks out shirtless.
Only reason why I'm watching the next Jurassic movie because the last one was dog shit. But anyways, one more. I think we had another response. It was Candyman, wasn't it?
The original Candyman.
Yeah, because I wanted to close off with Candyman because the new trailer for Candyman. Holy fucking shit! I want to watch that movie every single time they show it. It looks really good. They did change a lot of the origin of it. They kind of went more of the Freddy route. It's
I could kind of pick that up from the trailer at least. So
because the original one had nothing like that. Like he falls in love with some white girl and then it all goes from there. Like that's like
I don't remember that.
Yeah, that it's not a
Couldn't
good
tell you.
movie to begin with. It's just kind of like like it is what it is. This one's like more of the
We're gonna
spook
get hit.
factor.
We're gonna get hit with that one, but I kind of, not even kind of, I agree. As a kid and growing up, and even to right now, I never enjoyed Candyman. I know I never watched more than the first one.
Me too.
And if like one of the sequels was on TV, I might have caught like a bit, but I was always just like, I'm good. You know what I mean? It just wasn't a film. Very much like the Hellraiser series.
Another one that they're remaking for no fucking.
Are they really?
Yeah, they're making a live action remake.
How can they do that? Like,
I don't know.
Now we've made the joke. Now it's just 50 Shades of Grey.
That's what I was about to say. That's literally all.
So
But now it's a guy with like pins in his head.
Everybody's gonna watch it and be like obsessed over this fucking that too. But like girls are gonna obsess over it, like they obsess over like fucking serial killers and shit like that. And they're gonna be like, "This is
their new Ted Bundy."
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I can't wait to the first basic girl that goes on Instagram. It's like mood goals.
Yeah, I was gonna say like relationship goals. And I'm like, you need a father, like, or at least guidance from someone who. Either way.
Somebody to help you out.
Jesus Christ, man.
Yeah, I have no idea why they would go that route.
Talk about a franchise that doesn't need to be ever touched again. Honestly.
It should have never been brought to life in the first place, but the fact that they're bringing it back to the world, it's like I don't really need to see them. With Candyman, though, real fun fact before we end this, Candyman was probably the most random toy I had as a kid.
Really?
Don't know why I had it. Don't know where I got it, but I had it. I had a Candyman toy because I had nothing but like a box full of like wrestling toys. For some reason, deep inside, there was fucking Candyman. You could open the trench coat and everything. It was just like, I was like, okay, cool.
Here's a shout out to growing up, and this is me to growing up in our hometown, missing it. Fucking KB Toys, man,
dude.
I remember always going there as a kid, and seeing a Candyman toy, and always just being like, oh, that's cool, like knowing what it was and everything.
But for a toy, I don't know why the fuck I had it. It's because it didn't do anything. It was more of like I guess like more like a decoration prop type. It was
one of those. It was one of those like
little statue ones because they had Terminator.
Not,
they had
not
like
not NECA. NECA's the newer where it's just like the box. I love those ones. I have a few of those different characters. So it wasn't NECA yet, but I know which ones you're talking about.
Yeah,
because I think I have at least two similar. I have a Crow. Where he's holding like or I have one of him holding like the staff from the end of the movie, and I have him holding his guitar. So both of them, they're not fucking toys.
They're not toys. Yeah, they're just stands like that. So I don't know. I think I got it. I think originally it's because they had a Terminator one, but they didn't have it there. But I had it like on the back of the box. So it's one of the things where like I'm gonna get this one because later I could remember to get Terminator. I never got the fucking Terminator one because I never found it. But KB Toys. Always loved it more so than Toys R Us. That was always my shit.
Oh yeah,
they had way more Marvel toys than any fucking other toy store.
Here's a shout out to not even just like our hometown, more so fucking like down the street, fucking Rage Toys. Do you remember that?
Never heard of it.
Oh my god, dude.
Yeah, never heard of it.
That was like down the block from like where. Shout out to our homeboy Nick. Down the street from him. That like car wash, like gas station that's there now.
Oh, okay.
It used to be like a little like they tried.
I probably went I just don't remember shit.
So on the other side of the gas station, people are like, "The fuck are they talking about?" On the other side of the gas station, on the other side of the street, it's still like kind of like a little strip mall type bullshit. This is our shout out to our hometown.
Somebody putting the Google Maps that's listening right now. Just be like, let me see.
They're like, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Like so down the street from Knott's Berry Farm.
Yeah, exactly. Shout out. And it's got the laundromat, it's got a coffee shop, smoke shop, probably, stuff like that. In that little center was a place called Rage Toys. And it was essentially like a smaller KB, but also a lot more just like random, you could call it like memorabilia, like a lot of just toys, some toys out of package just on their own. So it's like that style. Yeah. And it was kind of like the first of like those style stores, at least nearby us. And I remember going there all the time and just like looking at the shit that I wanted. So many different wrestling toys. I remember beating myself up now to this day, not getting there's one more shout out to a fucking Terry Funk toy that I should have gotten.
Oh yeah. Shout out to Terry Funk, man. If you don't know the news about that, go look that up. One of the greatest wrestling legends of all time. If you don't know, you're
a fucking asshole. No, but hell yes, one of the absolute, talking about Mount Rushmore right there, man.
Yeah,
he's all four. Like, it's just different versions of Terry.
And I don't think anybody, fan or actual wrestler, could argue that. The amount of love this guy's gotten today, it's like fucking point proven. Like, this guy's a living legend, and that's the big thing, living still. So, gotta appreciate these guys while they're still here, man, because this business ain't for everybody. It takes a lot of people.
Oh no, man. So, but you know, we're still here for another edition.
KB Toys isn't, but maybe they'll bring it back like they're bringing back Toys R Us. Maybe somebody will buy KB.
We're gonna buy KB. We got to talk to our money man about that and see.
Are we gonna sell the Ouija board like they used to?
Yeah, why not? At that point,
remember that was like a big thing. I think that's why like my parents stopped taking me.
They're like, we should probably. But I mean, that shit goes like Target sometimes.
Oh yeah, it's at Target all the time. So I'm just like, what the fuck happened? Where it was like KB, we frown upon you, but now it's just like hanging out the toy section at Toys R Us. I'm just on Toys R Us, Target. I'm just like, oh,
yeah,
cool.
It was at Toys R Us sometimes too, though. I do remember that before Toys R Us closed. I went to one. I remember seeing it. I was just like,
here's my theory.
Do you think
they put them there, or do you think they like somebody just walks in and is like,
someone just walks in?
It's a Ouija board or 5 in there, and they're just like, my job's done for tonight.
They just walk by and they're like, this doesn't have a price. $24. Fuck it.
Honestly, I wouldn't put it past them. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I know this is probably, well, it's not going to be a quick episode. There's 2 parts of this, so it should end up being a whole hour-long episode. We'll be back very soon. As Rossi said, we are getting very near to the Halloween season. We're going to dabble way more into like the horror elements. We're big fans, obviously. Definitely do want to talk about the curse of movies, because that.
Before you even say that, and actually as you bring that up, this is breaking news, guys. Breaking news. We'll probably have at least another podcast in between, but at the end of this month, this is July that we're still in, we will be recording a live fucking podcast. I will be in Hollywood's hometown. Yep. I will be in my hometown, and I don't know. We haven't really talked about it, but I'm like, we've always dabbled in like the idea of doing a live one, doing a watch along one. Maybe this is time that we put something together. So
it probably will be.
I'm honestly excited to do that. So that's going to be cool.
It's going to be the first time that we've done it before, but I think we only did an audio version. One other few times. It's going to be the first time we're all together. It's going to be a fun time. But at the end of this month, somewhere around there, we'll let you guys know. We'll make it a big thing. We're going to need you guys to send us some questions too. We'll probably be doing it live. Fuck it. We'll probably do it live and have people in the chat and everything.
We'll do it live.
That's a great ending. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you guys had a safe 4th of July. Hope you had a wonderful time. We'll be back very soon. I think next episode, again, we'll talk about the curse of movies, because that is something that just hit my mind right now. I'm just like, holy fuck, that's a whole hour-long podcast that we can get into, because there's a list. Ladies and gentlemen, we will see you guys later on. You guys have a good night.